Zia Saab here. Dr. Zia, overall, of course, we've made a lot of effort. I think, it wouldn't be wrong to say, and Jameel Saab, I think, agreed with me there as far as the formulation of this fund is concerned. The Prime Minister, of course, talked about having it immediately available. How much of a possibility do you see of that happening? Because countries like us who are, of course, suffering on such a massive scale, and we have our own economic challenges, for us, of course, it's a paramount, it's of paramount importance that we get access to these funds for those people who have suffered so much, for people without houses as a result of the climate damage, the floods we saw very recently. Do you think there's a possibility of that?
Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Mark. Very important subject, very close to our heart, because we are suffering the most.
Yes.
One of the most damaged country, contributing only less than 1%, but getting the brunt because of climate change. Initially, people did not understand what climate change is, and that is why it took very long for the countries like us to make them understand that we are suffering because of you. As Jamil Saab said, actual contributors are in the developed countries, but suffering, we are suffering.
And the injustice of it is that, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, as you are asking about the establishment of fund and its disbursement, please remember, Pakistan's voice is not that low or that small. You would recall that during COVID also, Pakistan called for the deferment of payments of the loans from the developing countries and all, and it was accepted. So if we present our case in a logical manner, because we have moral authority on the subject, we have been calling upon the developed states that we are suffering because of you. It is good that now they have started to accept. And I am very confident that the way Pakistan is presenting its case, and inshallah tomorrow in PM's speech, the way it will be presented, I am very confident that we will get sufficient for not only we, other developing countries also,
yes,
because we need them immediately for our capacity building. Because there are a number of domains where we have suffered and we need to do capacity building of NDMA. Let me tell you, NDMA is doing a great job, and it is helping PDMAs to come online at the same. They have even established a think tank to look ahead for the climate damage, and they are doing a phenomenal job, but they need funding and they need to build their own capacity, and that can be done only through the help of the UN and other regional organizations, because the state is definitely very serious. The Pakistan state is very serious in tackling this menace. I call it a weapon of universal destruction, the climate, because it erodes soil, it creates unemployment, it creates migration, it creates child abuses, because people are displaced, they don't have place to live. So there are so many associated ills with this particular aspect that I have started referring it as a weapon of universal destruction. So if from your forum I want to give this message to the stakeholders, that even if you are contributing and if you are unable to control your emissions, please help the developing countries at least financially so that they can fight their case.
And COP does that. I mean, it provides a platform for countries to engage. It's a platform,
and this year's actually their objectives are three-pronged. One is industrial decarbonization, absolutely important, accelerating the just green energy transition, and innovation of climate action.
I want to come to this, Doctor. There's of course, one way of, we can talk about reparation. We can talk about the fact that there's very real climate damage, and For that we need redressal, but on the other hand there's also about the future. We need a plan, we need there to be, you know, checks in place for there to be, you know, not this repetitive, the kind of repetitive damage that we are seeing and the suffering that's coming to countries like us. For that I want to talk about this. Of course a large part of COP is also that, isn't that true? And we talk about renewable energies, things like this. I mean, how effective do you think these are going to be able to combat the damage that might come our way in the future?
Yeah, actually this was what you are saying now was the part of the agenda of COP27 last year.
Okay.
Because they determined that we must keep the rise of temperature below 1.5 degrees. That is ideal actually. They are trying to keep it below 2 degrees, but the ideal is 1.5 degrees. So
Right.
that was determined last time. And also they did the capacity building of the developing states or the more harmed states to absorb the effects of climate change. So that is already there on the agenda.
But is it coming to, again, the question is for us, you know, another couple of months down the road, we'll be looking at more, you know, more floods and you know, unfortunately the cycle continues for countries like us.
I was actually coming to that.
Ji.
And why did I refer about the NDMA and PDMA's performance and preparation in the last segment? Because they are already looking ahead.
Okay.
Till now, perhaps until very late, they were being reactive. But now they are proactive.
Okay.
And they are going into the domain of prevention now, protection.
This is the home front. This is what we are doing.
This is the home front. All they need is to be beefed up with adequate funding from the international organizations so that they build their capacity, because they have to look after this. I mean, Pakistan is not a small country. Secondly, our geography and topography is such that we are dealing with the glaciers in the north and warm waters in the south.
Right.
So the effect is multi-dimensional.
Fair enough.
The heavy rains in Balochistan or up north creates havoc.
We are particularly vulnerable.